As some of you may know, I grew up in a Christian home. So every Sunday, not only did I go to church, but I also attended something called Sunday school, where some old guy would teach us Bible stories like, "Thou hast sinned in thine eyes of the Lord, yet God Almighty loveth his children." Yeah, this lingo ain't exactly hitting right. I swear the only reason I stayed interested was getting to watch VeggieTales. Actually, thinking back on Sunday school, I wonder, how are today's kids learning about Bible stories? And then it hit me. I'm going to retell all of my favorite stories from the Bible, but only in the language of Gen Z. Now, let's start this road trip with the ultimate Sigma male, Moses, an absolute Chad, given a quest from the Lord Almogan. Back in the early days of ancient Egypt, when our Sigma male, Moses, was just a baby, the Pharaoh, who's like king tier, told his goons to go out and clock the Hebrew babies. Dude thought they'd be total alphas when they grew up and would steal his riz. That's when Moses' mum had a big brain moment and put baby Moses in a basket and he swooped down that river. That way the goons couldn't find him. It was a dangerous move. But Moses was of course a total chief and made it all the way to Pharaoh's palace. It was here that the daughter of Pharaoh absolutely secured the bag by saving Moses. Massive W. Because now Moses rises up in this bougie lifestyle. Like, imagine if his mum didn't stick with the basket plan. Big yikes. Fast forward, Moses grows up to be this absolute Chad, living in the palace, eating what he wants, and honestly, a pretty fire life so far. One day though, he catches this palace guard in 4K, beating up the Israelite. Moses sees the red flags and starts getting salty. But he didn't just tell him off. He straight up took him out! It was seriously out of pocket. So Moses had no other choice but to bounce to avoid the Pharaoh's vibe check. And now he lives a simple life of a shepherd. To be honest, the shepherd life was hitting different for Moses. He got to watch sheep and vibe all day. It kinda slapped. But one night, Moses tries to catch a vibe on this light in the distance, only to find it's a burning bush. Moses thought he was tweaking for a sec because, the bush wasn't dying. But then he hears a voice. "Hey, Umphy, it's me, God." Moses covers his eyes and starts wigging out. But God is like, "Chill, man. We're cool." He continues. "You're pretty based. I want you to jet back to Egypt and wipe out the brainrot of the Pharaoh. My moots are not mad chilling over in Egypt, being treated like slaves. Could you throw him off his yapping session and send my people to a bougie land?" Except Moses was mad doubting that he wouldn't deliver that main character energy required to convince the Pharaoh. So God hooked Moses up with Aaron, his brother, to speak up for him. And when Moses got back to Egypt, the Pharaoh could see his major glow up. Aaron says, "God's gonna bring some massive pain on your people if you don't let the Israelites cook. Let them walk and end this cringe era so you can continue living a fire life." The Pharaoh calls cap and Moses decides to look max on the Pharaoh by turning his walking staff into a snake. The Pharaoh is shook. Clearly, God's aura is on his side. But bruh doesn't budge and refuses to let the Israelites go, straight up ghosting both of them where they stand. So, Moses and Aaron dip. The following days, God sends a clapback of plagues that make the Egyptian people start tweaking. He sends down locusts, frogs, flies. These peeps started growing nasty boils all over their skin. The sun? Gone. Straight up deleted for a while. And worst of all, the water in every river is high-key just blood. No hydration for any Egyptian out here. Overall, just an ick for everyone involved. But they weren't prepared, because God was about to bring the boom. Moses approaches Pharaoh again and says, "Last chance, blood. Either match my freak or take the L." Enraged, the Pharaoh doesn't break and tells Moses to touch grass. Moses was then like, if God doesn't see the blood of lamb on everyone's door tonight, all the firstborns are up for phantom tax. Got it? And Moses bounced. That night, the angel of death stopped by everyone's place for the vibe check. And every house who didn't match freak with Moses had their firstborn clocked. That's when Pharaoh folded and told Moses to grab his moots and book it to Ohio. And Moses did. But that didn't stop the Pharaoh. He couldn't help but let Moses live rent-free in his mind and started absolutely tweaking out. Not long after Moses booked it, the Pharaoh sent his army to wipe them out. Just saying, Pharaoh, not a good look with how badly you got ratioed earlier. When God gives you an L, you should take it on the chin. For real. But Moses, he saw that army coming and understood the assignment. He goes, I bet. You'll check it. With his staff, he strikes the ground by the shore, and the Red Sea starts splitting down the middle. Now Moses and his peeps can walk across like absolute sigmas. After they all book it across, Moses turns back to say, skill issue, boys! And the sea collapsed back as the army was trying to cross, securing the bag for Moses, the absolute goat. Bro cooked phenomenally, and the Pharaoh was left salty as always. Moses then guides the Umphis to the bougie land. But it wasn't exactly the most ideal road trip. Yeah, it took them like 40 whole years to wander the desert and actually find it. But the Israelites weren't tweaking the whole time. God served and made sure his homies were fed, giving them max aura to keep moving. Along the way, God calls his homie Moses to start climbing this mountain, Sinai, and at the peak, God lays down the new house rules, the 10 Commandments. Basically, the OG rules for living a bussin' life. Like, don't kill and all that jazz. The journey ends with the Israelites getting to the promised land, where they can live the bougiest life they could imagine, free of the Pharaoh and his brainrot. But Moses didn't get to make it there. Instead, he passed the torch to his homie Joshua to lead the Umphis. Moses, in a nutshell, was all about trusting the process and never dropped his besties in time of need. He truly is the OG Sigma in my book. But those plagues weren't the only clapback God dropped on his big project. Up next to bat is Noah, a local weirdo given the greatest mission for all who vibe on this earth. Noah was around during the genesis of the rest of mankind. Like, for real, he was also in the book of Genesis. In this era, God was getting the ick from what he created. He looked at man and thought they were given dumpster fire. Mankind was constantly trying to mog on each other, and killing was just a free service. Some even tried to do it in God's favor. Like, my brother, did you not understand the assignment? The whole world was just wildin' at this point, and God went, "Height, time to start this show over again." No one knew it yet, but God was about to give the whole world a glow up. But Noah though, that was God's Umphy. Noah had no beef with the Lord, and he was not down with sin. In fact, God approached Noah and said, "I'm finna spill a little more than just the tea. Noah, humankind is giving massive brain rot, thinking it's valid. I think I have to take the L on this one." Noah stood gagged at how the Lord doubted his own aura. "How will you secure the bag, my Lord?" Noah asked. That's when God said, "I'm about to introduce the new patch. It's about to rain." Noah was then like, "Bruh, what's that?" Because he had never heard of it before. "Water is going to fall from the sky and absolutely take them out of the picture. Trust me, they're not gonna touch grass, even if they wanted to." And Noah responded, "OMG, I'm dead, what a fire plan. What do you need me to do?" God then told Noah, "I'll give them one last chance if they pass your vibe check. But if they're still throwing red flags, they're gonna be stuck in Ohio. But while you do that, I'd like you to cook something else too." "Anything for you, bestie," Noah says. "This flood is finna clock everybody, because no one knows how to swim. Honestly, a massive skill issue. But you're gonna cook with something mad diff. I'ma have you craft a boat." The boat that God yapped about would be massive. eventually known as the Ark, and would be sporting the entire animal kingdom. One king and one queen for each. Everything Noah swoops onto the Ark won't be left for the cringe fest. This boat project truly would be Noah's Roman Empire. That being before the Roman Empire. And so God made sure to deliver on what Noah needed for boat building. And Noah tried to use that Giga Chad Riz to save the moots, but no one believed him when he dropped the bomb on the rain. The people looked at Noah and thought, I'm gonna need to see some receipt because this guy's spitting cap. What don't be acting like that? He must be tweaking or something. Now, despite Noah's max aura, he couldn't get these guys to think the rain jargon wasn't out of pocket. So eventually, he took the L and focused on the Ark. But people began putting Noah on blast, absolutely dragging what he was up to. This was exactly the brainrot that God was yapping of. Eventually, the Ark was finished and completely on fleek. Noah straight up ate and left no crumbs with this one. And right as he was finished, God brought the boom. It immediately started to rain, and the people were shook. As mankind saw God's aura at play, they said, "Woo, looks like Noah really was flexing, but this for sure won't take us out." God then said, "Say less," and clapped back. The world quickly became a drink, and Noah hightailed it with his family and all the animals. Noah rode that wave with his animal besties, and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Not exactly the road trip he anticipated, but hey, at least it wasn't 40 years in the desert. After the rain dipped, God gave Noah the Addy for Mount Ararat. He told him to park the Ark there as he cleans up shop. The Ark dropped based on the mountain, and the world dried up for them. All the animals dipped out of the Ark and began to live their best lives. They lived on and did their thing to repopulate Earth. God then spoke to Noah. "The world will now thrive with your aura, and I'll no longer clap back when giving vibe checks on mankind. Let me prove it not to be cap." He kept it 100 with Noah by making the first rainbow. The rainbow was God's way of going, "We're good, homie. Don't worry about it now." God would not be hitting the world with any mega floods ever again. If the world brings back the drama, it'll be our assignment to clap back. Noah then lived as he pleased, as he claimed his W. And as he made the bread, so too did his family spread. His kids would be the new OG for the new world, following in God's aura and keeping it 100 after every generation. Noah's story is all about trust in God, leading you to a bougie life. Noah never doubted God or called cap, and God kept it real with Noah, meaning Noah is the true image of what it means to have faith. Speaking of having a big faith moment, my boy David was also a homie who'd leap for the stake, knowing he'd achieve the Lord's bag. Listen to this. So way back in the day, the Philistines were spitting it with the Israelites, and the Israelites were starting to look cooked. One brute of the Philistine army was called Goliath. He was delivering the most glazed Sigma energy you can imagine. He had to be at least 10 feet tall, an absolute giant. Not to mention the fact he was built like a Ford F-150. Man was literally a walking flex, and he knew it. Absolutely full of it. Goliath would challenge the Israelites to a one-on-one riz-off, thinking there was no shot he'd crash out. Saul was leading the Israelites into the brawl, but totally flaked on the leading part. He thought not one Israelite would be able to match Goliath's freak. Enter David, an everyday shepherd. Calling this guy beefy would be dead cap. But bro's been defending his own sheep his whole life. From lions, tigers, bears, you name it. When David caught wind that Goliath was making the Israelites tweak, he said, "I'd bet I can take that guy easy." David zoomed over to Saul to get the info dump. Saul was shaking in his boots, thinking about fighting Goliath. So, with David up to bat, he offered his personal armor to David. However, David just refuses the aura enhancer and says, "Nah, I'ma do my own thing." David steps into a riverbed, finds 5 smooth stones, and puts them in a sling. Saul was shook, seeing that David denied his top-tier drip and started fishing for rocks at a river. Saul said, "Homie, are you sure you want that smoke?" And David replied, "Oh, good, my guy. I don't need that drip. If
if I'm already decked out with the armor of God? It will max my aura in this fight.
Goliath yells, "Vibe check!" to the Israelites and waits for his opponent. Everyone is gagged, but David, with that main character energy, struts forward. As Goliath is prepping his mock game, David says,
"Get ready, because the OG Sigma
God will protect me today, and you will see he is ready to clap back for the moose."
He truly is the GOAT.
David puts the stone in his sling and starts whipping around that thing. The stone yeets from the sling and bam, pisses Goliath's forehead. Goliath takes the L and collapses out cold. And then David says,
"Skill issue, bozo."
Everyone was shook and amazed. He wasn't capping. David walked in with no prep and really out-rizzed the Rizzler. He was straight up a hero to the Israelites, and he really secured the bag with the aura of God alone. David's lore teaches us that trust in the OG really pays, because compared to the Brainrot of others, he truly doesn't crash out, especially for his oomphies. But for real, the OG didn't just leave mankind high and dry. And this absolutely wouldn't be the Gen Z Bible without mentioning the GOAT himself, Jesus. When I say God was serving, Jesus is the main dish I'm talking about. Let me drop one of the craziest stories Jesus told his main crew, the disciples. There were these three dudes, right? A father and his two sons. The father was living that bougie life, you know? Big house, tons of servants, the whole 9 yards. But the story ain't tracking him, but rather his older brother. Apparently, he wasn't feeling the family vibe anymore. He didn't want to live in his father's shadow and live his own bussin' life. Little bro didn't trip like this. He was absolutely loyal to his dad. But the older bro approached their father and said, "Yo, Pops, I know you're not dead or anything, but I really want my inheritance. I want to sport my own money, living my absolute best life. After I get that back, I'm outie." The father understood what bro was getting at, but he was low-key super sad about the whole thing, but ultimately went, "Don't worry, I got you," and gave him his share of the inheritance. No questions asked. The older bro was stoked and immediately dipped to go live in the big city. When the older bro gets to the big city, he starts living large, buying himself fancy things, partying with new friends, flexing all the spoils of his inheritance. He was living the most carefree life, acting like he was top-tier Sigma. He's buying things for his friends, buying dinners for everyone. How could you hate this guy? Right when everything was perfect, bam, the money was gone. This once was top-tier Sigma didn't realize that spending all the money at once led him to being dead broke faster than he thought. At this point, bro really got desperate. He started finding low-tier work, feeding pigs, his dogs all up in the mud, smelling absolutely rank. Dude was slacking on food supplies. Where one day, that pig food was looking pretty tasty. Bro went ham on the pig feed because it was all he had left. He was at the absolute rock bottom. That's when bro went big brain. He realized not even his dad's servants crashed out like this. They're eating way better than this slop. Maybe he can go back and apologize to his dad, and he'll give him a job as a servant. Who knows? All bro knew was that he didn't deserve the bougie life of being a son after all this. Turns out, all bro needed to do was touch some grass to realize he really messed up. Hopefully his dad would offer him the best failure management. So bro starts the long road trip home, tweaking out over how bad he messed up. His dad was probably going to be fuming when he got there. I imagine he was even practicing what he was going to say, like, "I fumbled the bag, Dad. I don't deserve to be called your boy. Please forgive me and have me as a servant." What do you think, Top J Jesus? It's time for a mad plot twist. His dad spotted him from the crib. He'd been out here every day, praying his son would pull up. So when he finally saw him, he was shook. Dude flipped and ran over to him like it was a race. Just as bro was about to burst out and drop the law, his dad hugged him tight. Bro shook from the reaction, but he prattles on anyways. "Dad, I absolutely fumbled." But his dad told him to save it. It didn't matter to him. The boy was confused. Why wasn't his dad catching any red flags from all of this? His father told him, "My boy, I don't care if you came back with a glow-up or delivering failure child. I'm just glad you're back home. We're gonna throw the most hype TikTok party because you're back." The son questioned him. Why would you celebrate the biggest flop of the century? I crashed out big time. You're not salty at all? The father could have flipped the script by being angry at his boy, but he explained, my son had ghosted me, but now he clapped back. He's finally home. He was at the point of glazing. He really didn't care that his son fumbled the bag. The younger brother, though, was not having it. Younger bro saw the hype party going down for the older bro and was fuming. He approached his dad. Hey, Pops, I'm gonna be out of pocket for a second. The entire time this bozo was gone, I was grinding out my work for you. I always gave you my max aura as your son. Why are you treating older bro like all that when he was giving you backstreets? The father told his youngest boy. Yo, chill out. Everything I have is still yours, homie. What you're spitting is valid, but your brother was lost in the sauce. But he found his way home. We definitely got a party. And that's how the tale ends. A story of forgiveness and always being down for second chances. I get it, Lord J. Sometimes people don't understand the assignment and absolutely screw up. However, we, the Moots, always have the power to give love. We can always give each other our max auras. And that's my collection of fire Bible stories, giving them a glow up for your entertainment. Thank you all for watching till the end. Now, if you excuse me, I was practicing my Mog game.